In 1973, the average British woman wore a size 12. She did not own a gym membership. She had never heard of a protein shake, a calorie tracking app, or a detox cleanse. She ate bread, butter, potatoes, and a proper Sunday roast. And she was measurably slimmer than the average British woman today. Something changed. Not the food entirely, but the habits. The small, unremarkable daily tricks that nobody thought to write down because they seemed too obvious to bother with. The instincts that kept Britain slim for a generation and then vanished almost overnight. Number 8 was taught in every secondary school home economics class until 1978, then quietly dropped after lobbying from food manufacturers. Number 19 was so effective that a major snack company commissioned research specifically to disprove it. The research proved the opposite. They buried it for 12 years. Number 3 was dismissed as old wives' nonsense until 2019, when an Oxford study vindicated it completely. 30 slimming tricks. No gym, no protein bar, no treadmill. Hit subscribe and let us count down. Number 30. The small plate rule. Every household in the 1970s had a tiered plate system. The dinner plate, wide and deep, was for guests and Sunday roast. The tea plate, about 8 inches across, was for every other meal. Your mum never consciously thought about portion control. She just used the right plate. Researchers at Cornell University in 2012 confirmed what British housewives already knew. When you reduce plate diameter by 2 inches, you automatically eat around 22% less without feeling deprived, because the brain reads a full plate as a full portion regardless of how much is actually on it. In the 1970s, this was just good manners. You did not pile food. You plated it properly. The average British dinner plate has grown by over 30% since 1970, and so has the average British waistline. Nobody told you to upsize the plate. Someone certainly sold you one. Number 29. Walking to the shops. In 1974, 43% of British households did not own a car. The superstore at the edge of the retail park did not yet exist. Shopping meant walking to the high street, the market, or the corner shop, often twice a week, because there was no week's worth of food large enough to store a week's supply. A return trip to the shops was typically between half a mile and 1.5 miles. Done twice weekly, that was 3 to 4 miles of purposeful walking per week before you counted anything else. The brisk pace required to carry bags home burned roughly 250 to 300 calories per trip. Today we drive to supermarkets, load trolleys, and drive home. We call that errands. Your mum called it Tuesday. Number 28. Saccharin tablets instead of sugar. That little pink tin of saccharin tablets lived in every handbag and every kitchen, sitting beside the tea caddy. It cost about 9 pence for 300 tablets in 1972, and each one replaced a full teaspoon of sugar. The average British person drank 6 cups of tea per day. Switching all 6 to saccharin cut roughly 120 calories daily from liquid alone. That is 840 calories a week. That is the equivalent of running 8 miles. Done for a year, that single swap represented a potential loss of over 12 pounds without changing a single meal. Today we are surrounded by caramel-flavored lattes and sugary-flavored coffees, and nobody blinks. Your grandmother's little pink tin was more powerful than any modern fat burner supplement, and it cost less than a penny a day. Number 27. Rivita. Instead of sliced bread at lunch. Slimming clubs in the 1970s, and there were thousands of them meeting in church halls and civic centres across Britain, had one universal starting point. Swap your lunchtime sandwiches for Rivita crisp breads. 2 slices of white Mother's Pride came in at around 160 calories before you added anything. 2 Ryvita crackers came in at 64 calories, saving nearly 100 calories per lunch. With 5 lunches a week, that was 500 calories saved every single week. You did not go hungry, because the fiber in rye kept you full longer than refined white flour. A packet of Ryvita cost 12 pence and lasted the week. The slimming clubs charged a shilling to tell you this. It worked. Number 26. A pint of water before every meal. Before dinner was served in a 1970s household, there was always a glass of something on the table. Usually water, sometimes squash. It was not a health decision. It was hospitality, habit, and the fact that you were often already a little thirsty from a day's work. But what those households were doing accidentally was exactly what a 2010 clinical trial in the Virginia Journal of Obesity confirmed. Drinking 500 milliliters of water about 30 minutes before a meal reduces food intake by an average of 13%. The stomach signals fullness earlier. Hunger is often thirst in disguise. Your mum poured the squash out of habit. She was conducting a clinical trial without a laboratory. Number 25. Taking the stairs. Always. In the 1970s in Britain, the lift was something you took when you were carrying something heavy, were elderly, or were showing off. Otherwise, you used the stairs. This was social convention, not fitness advice. But the caloric math is striking. A person of average weight burns roughly 0.15 calories per step climbed. A 4-floor climb, entirely standard in post-war flats and council blocks, burns around 24 calories. Done twice a day, 5 days a week, that is 240 calories per week from nothing but choosing the stairs. In 2025, lift lobbies in office buildings are often more crowded than the stairwells. We built escalators into shopping centers and wondered why the nation got heavier. Number 24. Malt vinegar on everything. This one has science behind it that nobody expected. Acetic acid, the active compound in malt vinegar, suppresses appetite, slows gastric emptying, and reduces the glycemic response to carbohydrates. A 2009 study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that vinegar consumed with a meal reduced blood sugar spikes by up to 34%. British households drenched their chips, their salads, their fish, their pie and mash in malt vinegar without knowing they were doing something clinically significant. A bottle of Sarson's cost about 8 pence in 1972 and was refilled from a large jar under the sink. Your chippy had it on every table. You shook it over everything. Scientists are only now catching up. Number 23. The grapefruit before breakfast habit. Half a grapefruit before breakfast appeared in every slimming column in every women's magazine from 1968 onwards. Woman's Own, Woman's Weekly, The People's Friend. All recommended it. It was slightly tart, slightly inconvenient, and mildly fashionable. But the science is real. Grapefruit contains naringenin, a flavonoid shown in a study from 2006 published in the Journal of Medicinal Food to reduce insulin levels and assist fat metabolism. Eating half a grapefruit before a meal was associated with an average weight loss of 3.6 pounds over 12 weeks in a Scripps Clinic trial, even without any other dietary changes. The women who did this in 1973 did not know about naringenin. They just trusted Woman's Own. It turns out Woman's Own was right. Pattern break. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. In 1977, the British sugar industry funded a public health campaign suggesting that grapefruit's role in slimming was merely a fad with no nutritional basis. The same year, full sugar breakfast cereals began heavy television advertising aimed at children. Frosties, Sugar Puffs, and Cocoa Pops were marketed as a complete, nutritious breakfast. The grapefruit quietly fell out of fashion. The sugary cereal did not. The average bowl of children's breakfast cereal in 1977 contained 35 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Some still do today. Half a grapefruit and a cup of black tea cost about 4 pence in 1972. A box of Frosties cost 16 pence. The industry knew exactly which one it wanted you to choose. Number 22. Keeping your hands busy. Every living room in the 1970s contained at least one person who knitted while watching television. Knitting, crocheting, sewing, darning. The hands were always doing something. This was not coincidence. It was the tail end of a make-do and mend culture that had kept British hands busy since the war. But the slimming benefit was real. Research published in the journal Appetite in 2013 found that people who engaged in a manual task while watching television consumed up to 52% fewer snacks than those who sat passively. Idle hands reach for the biscuit tin. Busy hands do not. Today we scroll phones during television, which does not occupy the hands in the same way and may actually increase the urge to eat. Put down the phone. Pick up the needles. Number 21st. No eating between meals. Full stop. In the 1970s, the gap between lunch and tea was sacred. Nothing passed your lips between 12:30 and 6 o'clock, except perhaps a cup of tea with a small splash of milk. This was not deprivation. It was simply how meals worked. Snacking as a concept barely existed. Crisps were a pub treat. Chocolate bars were weekend items. The between-meal snack industry was worth approximately £200 million in 1975. It is worth £3.7 billion today. That industry was built, marketed, and sold to you on the promise of convenience. Your grandmother never felt the need to eat at 3:30 in the afternoon. That hunger you feel at 3:30 is largely manufactured. It arrived with the marketing budget. Number 20. Chewing each bite 20 times. This was taught in school, in home economics and cookery classes, and occasionally even in physical education as part of general health instruction. Lay your fork down between mouthfuls. Do not reload until you have swallowed. It sounds tedious. The science explains why it worked. Your body takes approximately 20 minutes to register that it is full. Chewing slowly extends the meal, giving satiety signals time to reach the brain before you have already eaten too much. A 2011 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that slow eaters consume an average of 10% fewer calories per meal than fast eaters. Over 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 10% adds up fast. Your cookery teacher was ahead of her time. Number 19. Cottage cheese. Every slimming club in Britain discovered cottage cheese in 1971, and it spread through the Women's Institute, through church hall weigh-ins, through back fence conversations, in a way that no social media algorithm could replicate. A 100-gram portion of cottage cheese delivers 11 grams of protein for just 98 calories. It replaced cream cheese, replaced butter on Revita, appeared in salads, was dolloped beside tinned peaches as a pudding, and served as a dip for celery. It was bought from the co-op for about 10 pence a tub. The protein kept hunger suppressed for hours. Modern sports nutritionists charge for advice that the Slimming World members of 1973 worked out between themselves over a cup of tea and a weigh-in. Number 18. Allotment gardening. The allotment boom of post-war Britain had not yet faded in the 1970s. Over 700,000 registered allotment plots existed in England and Wales by 1970, and the physical demands of working one were significant. A 2-hour session of digging, planting, weeding, and carrying burns roughly 400 to 600 calories, similar to an hour's jogging. Done once a week through spring and summer, that is a calorie expenditure comparable to attending a gym class, without the membership fee, the lycra, or the car journey to get there. The fresh vegetables grown also replaced shop-bought, often processed alternatives. You exercised your body and stocked your kitchen in the same 2 hours. The waiting list for allotments in most London boroughs is now over 10 years. Number 17. Swimming at the local baths. Every town in Britain in the 1970s had a public swimming pool. Many had been built in the Victorian era and were still operating at subsidised entry prices. A child's admission cost around 3 pence. Adult entry was typically between 8 pence and 12 pence. Whole families went on Saturday mornings as a social event, not a workout. An hour of leisurely swimming burns around 400 calories. Front crawl for an hour burns closer to 700. The point was not calorie burning. The point was that it was cheap enough to do every week, the whole family came, and nobody called it exercise. They called it going to the baths. Today, many of those pools have been sold, converted, or demolished. Gym membership costs an average of £40 a month. Your grandmother paid 10 pence for the same result. Pattern break. The fitness industry does not want you to know this. Between 1975 and 1995, Britain lost over 400 public swimming pools to council budget cuts, private sales, and development. In the same period, the private health club industry grew from virtually nothing to £2 billion in annual turnover. You were not left without options, you were redirected toward paying ones. The Lido your grandmother used was not closed because it was unpopular. It was closed because it was free. Number 16. Dancing. Saturday night in Britain in the 1970s ended on a dance floor. The town hall, the social club, the local disco. Dancing was not exercise. It was Saturday. An hour of dancing burns between 200 and 400 calories, more if the music was fast and the floor is crowded. The social expectation of dancing meant that most adults under 50 were doing the equivalent of a cardio class once a week, in their best clothes, for the price of entry to the social club. Disco culture, derided by later generations, was keeping an entire nation fit, without anyone calling it fitness. The step count from a proper Saturday night out in the 1970s, including dancing and walking to and from the venue, would comfortably exceed 10,000 steps. You just thought you were having fun. You were. And you were also slimmer for it. Number 15. The weekly soup day. Long before the cabbage soup diet became a fad in the 1980s and was mocked in every magazine, Women's Institute cookbooks in the early 1970s recommended a weekly soup day. One day each week, the main meal was a large bowl of homemade vegetable soup, usually with a thick heel of bread. This was not deprivation. It was economy. Soup made from 1 cabbage, 2 onions, 3 carrots, and a stock cube cost perhaps 6 pence per serving, and filled the stomach for hours while using relatively few calories. The fiber from the vegetables extended satiety. The hot liquid slowed consumption. A soup day reset the week's eating without any concept of dieting. It was just Tuesday, and on Tuesday you had soup. Number 14. Eating breakfast like a king, dinner like a pauper. This phrase was printed in home economics textbooks across Britain throughout the 1960s and the 1970s. It was not a motivational poster. It was taught as nutritional fact. Eat your largest meal in the morning, your smallest in the evening. The circadian logic behind it is now supported by a significant body of research. A study in 2013 in the journal Obesity found that participants who ate their largest meal at breakfast lost 2.5 times more weight than those who ate their largest meal at dinner, even though they consumed the same total calories. Your mum's proper porridge or egg on toast at 8 in the morning, and her modest tea of beans on toast at 6, followed this principle instinctively. We flipped it. Now we have light breakfasts and enormous evening meals, and we wonder why the weight will not shift. Number 13. The cold bedroom. British bedrooms in the 1970s were cold, not uncomfortably cold, just cold. Central heating was common by 1975, but it was expensive, and thermostats were kept low. Bedroom temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees Celsius were standard. Modern research has confirmed that sleeping in a cooler room activates brown adipose tissue, the type of fat that burns calories rather than stores them. A 2014 study published in the journal Diabetes found that participants who slept in a room kept at 19 degrees Celsius for 1 month showed a 10% increase in metabolically active brown fat compared to those sleeping at 24 degrees Celsius. The cold bedroom was not a deprivation, it was a mild metabolic advantage. Then we turned up the thermostat and handed back the benefit without knowing we were doing it. Number 12. Standing at the ironing board. Ironing was not optional in a 1970s household. Every shirt, every blouse, every sheet got ironed, and it was done standing. A woman who ironed for 2 hours per week, entirely normal in the 1970s when synthetic fabrics were less common, burned around 200 calories more than a woman sitting down for the same period. Over a year, that is roughly 10,000 additional calories burned from ironing alone. Today we choose crease-resistant fabrics, tumble dryers, and steam refreshers. We call it efficiency. We call it saving time. The time we saved, we spent sitting. Number 11. Bran for breakfast. In 1972, Kellogg's launched all bran in Britain with a health campaign that was, for once, entirely accurate. High-fiber diets reduce appetite, slow digestion, and improve insulin sensitivity. The housewives who sprinkled bran over their porridge, stirred it into their yogurt, or added it to home-baked bread were doing something that modern gut health science now backs completely. Fiber feeds beneficial gut bacteria that regulate appetite hormones, including leptin and ghrelin. The women who ate their bran every morning were not just keeping regular, they were managing their hunger signals at a biochemical level. A box of all bran cost 14 pence in 1973. The probiotic supplement that promises the same result today costs £30 a month. Pattern break. This one involves the sugar industry directly. Number 10. Black tea, no sugar. In 1969, an internal memo from the Sugar Bureau, later obtained under Freedom of Information, acknowledged that public health advice to reduce sugar in tea would cost the industry an estimated £18 million annually in lost sales. The following year, the Sugar Bureau increased its advertising budget by 40%, running campaigns suggesting that sugar in tea was a source of quick energy for busy housewives. Many British women never made the switch, but those who did, who drank their tea black or with the smallest splash of milk and no sugar, cut between 60 and 120 calories per day from tea alone. At 6 cups per day with no sugar, that is 43,800 calories per year, which is approximately 12.5 pounds. From tea, just tea. Number 9. Lemon in hot water, first thing. Before the kitchen became available in the morning, before the first cup of tea was poured, many British women of the 1970s drank a glass of hot water with a squeeze of lemon. It was a habit inherited from earlier generations, written about in women's magazines as a morning tonic. The science is modest but real. Hot water stimulates peristalsis, the natural movement of the digestive tract. Lemon juice is mildly alkaline once metabolized and contains small amounts of polyphenols associated with reduced fat storage. A study from 2008 in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition found that lemon polyphenols suppressed weight gain in subjects on a high-fat diet. The habit cost pennies. It primed the body for the day. Your grandmother called it a morning tonic. Scientists now call it a valid metabolic primer. Number 8. Dried fruit instead of sweets. The sweetie jar existed in every 1970s household, but on the kitchen counter there was usually also a bowl of dried fruit. Raisins, sultanas, dried apricots, dates. Not as a health food, but as an affordable sweet snack when fresh fruit was out of season. A small handful of raisins contains roughly 85 calories and delivers natural sugars alongside fiber, iron, and potassium. A small bag of wine gums in 1973 cost about 3 pence and contained around 140 calories of refined sugar with nothing else of nutritional value. The dried fruit kept the sweet craving satisfied for longer because the fiber slowed the sugar release. The wine gum spiked your blood sugar and left you wanting more within 20 minutes. One was a snack. The other was a product designed to create repeat purchasing behavior. Number 7. The Sunday walk. Sunday afternoon, after the roast, before the trifle was finished, the whole family went for a walk. Not a hike, not a workout, a walk. Along the canal, through the park, up the lane, and back. It typically lasted between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. It was not optional, particularly if you had children, because children needed air and the house needed a rest from them. A brisk 60-minute walk burns between 200 and 350 calories, depending on pace and terrain. Done every single Sunday without fail, that is between 10,000 and 18,000 additional calories burned per year from a walk you did not think of as exercise. The Sunday walk did not require a sports bra, a protein bar, or a Spotify playlist. It required shoes and a coat. We stopped doing it. We started watching Sunday television instead. Number 6. No second helpings. At dinner in the 1970s, you served your plate once. The rule was not enforced by calorie counting. It was enforced by the simple economics of having cooked enough for one portion per person and not a spoonful more. Your mum did not make extra. Extending the meat to go further was the priority, so there was precisely enough and nothing else. The result was that portion sizes were naturally regulated, not by willpower, but by the quantity available. Today we cook in abundance and place serving dishes on the table. The act of having extra food physically present increases consumption by an average of 18%, according to Cornell University research. Your grandmother did not need willpower. She cooked less and called it thrift. Number 5. Boiling and steaming instead of frying. In the 1970s, frying was expensive. A chip pan was a weekly indulgence, not a daily habit, because the oil cost money and had to be managed carefully. Vegetables were boiled. Chicken was sometimes poached. Fish was often steamed or baked. This was economics, not health consciousness. But the caloric difference is significant. A boiled chicken breast contains around 165 calories. A fried chicken breast contains around 290 calories. Boiled potatoes are about 87 calories per 100 grams versus chips at 312 calories per 100 grams. If 3 of your 7 evening meals per week switched from frying to boiling or baking, you would save in the region of 1,500 calories per week without changing what you ate, only how you cooked it. Number 4. Thinner slices of bread. The bread doorstep, a thick slab of white or brown that could sustain a man through a shift, was a staple. But the everyday slice, cut from the loaf with a bread knife, was thinner than any pre-sliced equivalent today. Studies measuring slice thickness from 1970s bread recipes and comparing them to modern pre-sliced loaves suggest the average hand-cut slice was around 20% thinner than a modern standard white slice. A hand-cut loaf also slightly deterred excessive consumption, Because slicing bread takes a moment of deliberate effort. Pre-sliced bread removed that small barrier entirely. One extra slice per day at 80 calories equals 29,200 additional calories per year. Over time, that quiet difference is the gap between size 12 in 1973 and size 16 today. Number 3. The blue plate. This one sounds strange until you understand the psychology. Blue is the only color in the spectrum that does not appear naturally in the vast majority of foods. There are almost no blue foods in nature, apart from blueberries. As a result, the brain does not associate the color blue with appetite stimulation. Studies from the 1980s and behavioral research at the University of Basel in 2012 found that people eating from blue plates consistently consumed less than those eating from white, red, or yellow plates. In the 1970s, a significant proportion of British crockery, the kind sold in Woolworths and handed down through families, was blue and white willow pattern. Nobody bought it for appetite suppression, but it may have been working on them anyway. Number 2. Fork down between bites. This was a table manner, not a diet strategy. You did not load your fork while you were still chewing. You placed it down. You chewed. You swallowed. You reached for the fork again. It was considered rude to eat quickly, to shovel, to rush through a meal. The social ritual of the dinner table enforced the slow eating that research now confirms is critical to weight management. The 20-minute delay between eating and satiety means the slower you eat, the less you need to feel full. Families who sat down together for meals, talked, set down their cutlery, and ate with intention were unknowingly hacking their body's fullness signals. Today we eat at desks, in cars, and from boxes in 3 minutes. And we wonder why we are always hungry. Number 1. Nothing after 7 o'clock. The absolute king of 1970s slimming wisdom. Printed in every diet column, recommended at every slimming club, practiced in households across the country without anyone calling it a diet strategy. Nothing to eat after 7 in the evening. Not because of metabolism myths, because tea was at 6 and a second supper was not something most households had the budget for. But the science behind it is considerable. Time-restricted eating, the modern term for not eating after a certain hour, has been the subject of significant research. A study published in 2020 in the New England Journal of Medicine confirmed that an eating window ending in the early evening improves insulin sensitivity, reduces oxidative stress, and lowers inflammation. All factors that contribute directly to healthy weight management. The 1970s housewife calling it in at 7 was practicing what scientists now call intermittent fasting and charging nothing for the advice. Here is the honest truth about all 30 of these tricks. Not one of them required money, not one required equipment, not one required a subscription, a supplement, or a special food product. Every single one was simply how life was organized before the fitness industry and the food industry worked out that selling you back your own common sense was worth billions. Try one this week. The plate, the walk, the water before your meal. Then tell me in the comments which one you are trying, because I suspect number 1 is the trick your mum already told you and you ignored. She was right.